Welcome in. Afternoon edition of Dome Theory here on CLNS Media. If you're tuning in live, you can see me. You can see Jayson Buford, who we talked to about a year ago. I think the last record we talked about here on Dome Theory, because we're going to get into a little bit of a review today, was Alfredo.
Yeah, we did Alfredo. That's right. We did do Alfredo. That's right.
Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist, which Tyler the Creator appeared on. Probably one of my favorite tracks of last year, something to rap about. And a string of Tyler features. He was on Pray for Paris. He was on that Brent Fires record.
Yeah, we kind of should have known that this was coming because of those verses last year.
Yeah.
You
And the
know what I mean?
Billboard,
Yeah.
there was a good rollout to this between last year's features, the Billboard that people saw around LA probably about a month and a half ago, and then, the array of videos and singles that came out. This was a great rollout to this record. Call Me If You Get Lost, Tyler's sixth album. Rave reviews everywhere. It's not going to be too different here. I just love this record, and I was talking to Jason before we got on. He had a lot of good things to say about it as well, but that rollout was a good way to get started. 4 great videos, good snippets, good songs, I thought, to choose to go with as far as singles went off this record, and a lot of visual stuff like we usually get from Tyler.
I actually didn't even know what to expect, right? Like, I remember I had heard the What's My Name that had come out. I heard that come out. I seen the video, and his visuals are always really great, but I didn't know what to expect when it came to the new album. I didn't think it was going to be a hardcore rap record. I thought it was going to be more of the neo-funk, neo-soul direction that he had been going. I thought he might build upon that and do a little more within that, but I didn't think he was going to bring it back to kind of the Wolf era Tyler. So I was pleasantly surprised.
I wasn't expecting that either. I mean, Lumberjack did kind of sound like that, the first single. Just a great hardcore track. The sample on there is awesome. I can't think of the artist off the top of my head, but it was an old hardcore rap song that, he kind of reshaped in his own direction there. Call me Lumberjack because I wish you would. I love that refrain in the chorus there. But what's your name? And this is something we just talked about before we got on here too. The complete opposite when we talk about like the different shades of Tyler's music and the different, subgenres that he's dove into here. That kind of falls more in line with the Flower Boy IGOR Tyler. And that's a track that really got me excited and ultimately became my favorite on the album. You didn't hear the NBA Youngboy verse that it landed on the album after in that video that dropped. But I thought that played well. I'm not a big fan of him, but I thought he fit so well on the song. And brought a nice, melodic rap verse.
Great.
I'm not. I gotta listen to a little bit more of him. I'm just saying, like, I haven't heard enough of him and gotten into him.
Yeah.
So he was one of a number of artists on this album that 42 Doug, a handful of others here that I really haven't dove into a ton. I like Lil Uzi. I thought he fit really well on here, but a diverse array of features, diverse array of sounds on this record. And What's Your Name ultimately was probably my favorite song on here. Ty Dolla $ign came through with the nice outro vocals back in Tyler's high-pitched ones there. And, it was just a fun track that, at a minute, 2 minutes, really, is one that has great replay value. You can listen to that song over and over again just because of how short and sweet it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, for me personally, when I listen to the album, it's a very well produced album, but and that's like and that's no secret. But what's also really great about it is there's different types of beats, right? You have a lot of the soul samples that are in the vein of Tyler kind of doing his own West Side Gun impersonation, which he seems like he's been really
couple West Side Gun samples on here too.
Yeah. I think he's definitely been influenced by Griselda a little bit, and then you have him going with, Corso is a huge boom bap revival type of track. So, and Wilshire's kind of like going back to like the DJ drama days in general, and so like, or rather Lemonhead, not Wilshire, Lemonhead. Lemonhead's like the DJ drama type of track, and so I think for me personally, it has a large musical landscape in it, but not in kind of the way that you would expect, not in that type of like, rock, neo soul type of way, but in hip hop in general, right? This is kind of Tyler's love letter to rap. It kind of feels like.
Yeah, and he's a really good rapper. I wasn't blown away by the technical rapping on here, and he's not the best rapper in the world, but he's really good. And when he goes in,
he has a great
can rap
voice,
with anybody.
right? Yeah, yeah. I think he's not. Yeah, he's not. Ghostface Killer, MF Doom in terms of just like the way he kind of had the alchemy of his lyrics or anything. But what Tyler's really good at is he has a lot of command of the voice and a lot of command of what he's doing. And so like, he's more than capable of carrying an album like this because of his voice and because of his presence on the mic.
Yeah, and that's something he did well in the past, on Flower Boy especially. Went away from rap for the most part, even though he won Best Rap Album on IGOR. Not much rap on there at all, just in terms of, the genre itself. But he does get back to that here quite well. And, the opening track here, you mentioned the Griselda influence. I didn't recognize the Michael Irvin sample on here initially. I was trying to just process, what was like original instrumentation on here. When we get to Hot Wind Blows, I was like, is that Tyler on the keys? There's no way that's Tyler on the keys. And it wasn't, but it was a really good sample. And
yeah.
Sir Baudelaire here too creates a world. And this is what he does most strong as a rapper to me. The imagery, building a character again. I feel like this Tyler Baudelaire thing he does here is similar to the Igor thing that we saw in the last album.
He's really good at crafting the album without being corny.
Yeah.
Right? His albums always have concept to it, but they never seem corny.
No, and the way DJ Drama supports that. I was one of the people on here, of course. Like, yeah, there's a little too much DJ drama on these tracks for
me. There's never enough DJ drama, man.
But yeah, once you start to see, once you start to hear,
we'll fix that. I gotta send you some Gangsta Girl tapes. There is never enough DJ drama in this world.
Once I started to hear how he contributed to the character building on here, and just kind of like that narration of the album, especially on track 2. The first 6 tracks on this album opened it so well. And, Corso was another favorite of mine on here. Drama, I need you. Like him and Drama going back and forth on like that bridge to the end there. And, just the lyrics on here too. He starts to build that story with, the love triangle that he eventually gets to by the end of the album here. He introduces it on the second track. And he's so damn funny. He really is. Like, not many rappers just have you like laughing mid-track.
Yeah.
He says this line
though. Funny rapper, and I think that was always his calling card when he first came out, and then he kind of went away from it a little bit. If you listen to like Flower Boy and you listen to Igor, these are very quote unquote mature albums that are kind of talking about like real feelings of sexuality, real feelings of just like changing within the body. But back on this album, I think he got back to kind of the biting sense of humor that he had on his first 3 records.
Well, just these 1-2-liners that he has, and he had a few of those on even those more mature tapes, but this one had me laughing my ass off to open up Corso, especially when you see where the album goes. He ain't talked to his bitch in 3 days, and ain't gotta be this way. I'm down for the threesome.
Yeah. He's also very, he also has like these phrases that are really funny because no one else in the world would say that. No one else in the world would tell a woman, you look malnourished for talent. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a great line, too. And I love French toast. So the French toast imagery there, I was just so fired up to hear that. Like, he really does incorporate the little things, too. Like on that opening in Flower Boy, I thought these lines were so similar to open each album. He's talking about, I was never into the beaches and all the sands. I was in the woods with flowers, rainbows, and posses falling out of my pocket, but you want to know if I swim to cool down. Just like the image of lakes. Yeah. He did this on that Freddie record 2, Cars. That's all over this album. Driving, scenery.
A lot of motives, right? A lot of things are all over this album, but underneath it all is a love story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he can, these yellow yachts, the French sun. You know what I mean? It's like he I might have got that mixed up, but he's really good at like having these like motives and these things and these visual like just ideas, and then packaging them together to make a whole love story, to make a whole story of what's going on with it, right? And I think like I think in terms of crafting albums, Tyler's one of the best doing it right now.
Yeah, and I thought the 2-minute tracks really worked well with that too.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna
very quick paced album, right? There's a lot of tracks on this record, right? So I think we got 16 tracks on this record, but you wouldn't feel it with the runtime. Every track is quick. but it's still meaty. It's not like it's like a 25-minute album or anything. It's a 53-minute album, but the tracks are quick, they're concise. It's a real tape. I mean, you can't say anything more.
Yeah, no, people talked about the mixtape feel to this one, especially with drama being integrated. We're going to talk about a lot of Kanye parallels here. And like at this point, am I crazy to say this? I said this to some friends the other day. You know, after this 3-album run that he just went on, 3 real deal contenders for Rap Album of the Year, and one, and this one probably could too, if we look at what's out there this year so far. He's really putting himself in a Kanye kind of space when it comes to his production acumen, the materials that he puts out there, the videos, the clothes, everything that goes into these releases. And then on top of that, great rapping, great production, feature choices. I really see him entering this Kanye echelon of creativity that, you know, is a high bar. I'm not going to say he is Kanye at this point, but like if you're going to pick anybody to be in that same breath, I think at this point it's fair to put Tyler at that spot.
I mean, if you look at an album like IGOR, you can consider that to be like an album like Jesus or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or you can consider that to be something like 808s and Heartbreaks, rather. Whereas like this, I think is definitely his My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, his universal beloved record that everyone can kind of that he's been waiting for it to make his whole career, and not everybody can really get down to. I see Call Me If You Get Lost as his My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. However, I think they're totally different artists. They're not necessarily the same. What they're both really, really elite at is putting guest features in the right place. I will say that. And that's something that they are both great at. But other than that, I think they're dramatically different artists and have dramatically different careers. If you remember Kanye, I mean, The Dropout is I guess you can say Bastard is acclaimed, but in a much different sense than College Dropout is, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Bastard was, Odd Future wasn't loved by everyone, right? They were very good. People recognized the talent, but also it wasn't like universally acclaimed like the College Dropout was when it came out, right?
Well, it was a different time in music, because this is what makes
it was a very
so
different
important.
time in music in general, yeah. But I mean, their careers in Rise has not been the same. It's not been in the prestige eyes the same. I think it took Tyler a while to get to that level where he was respected prestigiously, like Kanye.
Kanye had to carve out a role in the industry.
Yeah.
You know, doing that work with Jay-Z and all the production features and stuff like that, finding his radio hit. Tyler didn't have to do that. They could just put their music online, and that's how people found them. You know, he never had and, you know, Yonkers obviously blew him up, but that's an internet hit compared to Through the Wire, which was, you know, a huge radio hit back in 2003.
Yeah, I mean, Through the Wire had been on the streets forever, right? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just really the accident. It's really after the accident that had to come out, and then Dropout came out like a year later, right? So it's just like entirely different type of era, entirely different type of career, and like how it jumped off, right? Like I think Tyler legitimately just started his own shit.
It's crazy too. I mean, that's like 8-9 years apart, and the music industry transformed forever in that time.
Odd Future was like on those blogs and shit, right? You know, like Pitchfork, Beatles Drop blogs, and like, well, Pitchfork's not blogs, website, but still, it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like the run had come from him doing, a Jay-Z album, right? The run came from kind of his own lonesome kind of, you know, this alternative group got together and they just got popping, right? It's like, so I don't see that many similarities, but the similarities I do see are very poignant, right? The ability to put people in the right positions, the musical scope, the idea that you can make an album and then kind of keep kind of progressing visually and progressing musically from there or whatever. You know what I mean? He is a combination of Pharrell and Kanye.
Pharrell is the one you got to include in there for sure, because that's obviously his biggest influence.
I mean, there's even records on this album. I mean, we talk about Cherry Bomb. There's even records on this album that are just like Pharrell's Gangsta Grill tape. You know what I mean? Like or the Clips Gangsta Grill tape. It's like those are Tyler's favorite rappers, right? Those are Tyler's favorite people.
Juggernaut. That's the one that stands out to me most in that vein. And obviously Pharrell appeared on there. But that and many other tracks on here. The other thing that sticks out about this record to me is the transitions. You talked about the great production on here. The thing that sticks out to me most are those just diversions, transitions, shifts between track to track. That stuff here was beautifully done. And
I really respect it too because Tyler's taking DJ Drama and his these classic mixtapes and making it into like album cinematic form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like I think that's really dope to combine. I think that's really dope to not that DJ Drama's legacy needs that, but to bring DJ Drama and bring that, to bring avant-garde to the hood. Like I think that's a great job by Tyler. I think that's the music he was born to make. That's the bridge he was born to gap, I think.
You have these great moments on this record too, where Drama's just kind of going along with like wherever this is going. Like there's some tracks here where Drama fits right in. Then he gets on "I Thought You Wanted to Dance," and he's just like, "Welcome to the disco."
Yeah.
Like we're just gonna roll with this.
I like to think about the ice cream. I've eaten ice cream like this whole time or something like that.
It's like Tyler's just handing him a script, and he's like, "I'm just gonna do this."
That we wouldn't get like classic Drama, but he's in rare form here. He's very good here.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
It was so easy for me eventually to get into his inclusion on this album and how prevalent he was. That transition on Juggernaut, though, there's some great ones on here.
Pandemic is a great question, by the way. I think that intro was great. Oh, you want to see Pandemic? Like that's.
We should have ranked his best ad libs on here.
Yeah, I don't know why everyone's there. Thank you for giving me some pitch ideas. I don't know why everyone's ever done that. I don't know if they've done that yet.
Speaking of that, Jayson Buford, great music writer. He's going all in on that now as a career. He's doing a Patreon with music writing. Go subscribe to that. We're all going to hop on there right after this episode and subscribe. I put it in the chat. I'll do it again. I'll drop it on Twitter. Make sure you go get Jayson Buford's music writing.
I got some. I do some basketball stuff on there too once in a while, and I do some movie stuff on there once in a while too. But mostly music journalism, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you always being willing to come on here and chop it up about these records.
Of course, brother. Of course. Yeah.
These transitions on here blow me away, and that one on Juggernaut really, because the record starts as one thing for about 3 bars and then just goes in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
And when you hear people reacting to it, it's like, is this going to be one of the slower songs on the album? And then all of a sudden it just explodes in the video too.
Yeah.
Transition.
And then you got Wilker after that, which is a song with like a whole story and a whole kind of wrapping up the theme. And it's like.
So that's where the album kind of hit a bump for me. The storytelling's great.
Yeah.
The rapping on there and the imagery and just the emotion on it, I think is awesome. I'm just not really that interested in the story. And it's so long. Like, that's not a track I'm going to be running on repeat.
I mean, it's definitely like one of those Magnus Opus type of songs. It's like he's, you know what I mean? He's definitely trying to make his like version of like Stan or something like that, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's rare nowadays to see a rapper really trying to rap like that.
Yeah.
A rapper who's as popular as Tyler, it's rare to see them try to go in with 40-something bars, 60-something bars. We need that. He's barred the fuck up. We need that. You know what I mean? So I think definitely, 8 minutes is not for everybody, but for me, like I wouldn't have any other way. That's hip hop right there.
Yeah,
I think this album is his love letter to rap, and part of that is the imagery and the storytelling and those 8-minute songs that like Nas would make or something like that, something like that. You know what I mean? And I think that's he is trying to bridge from that to the gloss and the utter sensational pop music that he makes.
Yeah, for sure. It is interesting to see on an album where we talk about the 2-3 minute tracks, the 1 minute interludes here, to have a 8 minute just bar track, really like almost in like an MF Doom vein. No choruses here, just boom, 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 boom. I love the technical aspect of that track. I'm just not as interested in the content there. Probably just because of relatability factor. I never really been in a love triangle. So I'm just not it's
I do
not
not
something.
recommend, Bobby. I do not recommend.
It just doesn't speak to. Maybe I'll get there one
I do
day.
not recommend love triangles. I can say
It
this
is
for sure.
interesting because Igor came out, or at least Igor was still running routinely in my life during a hard breakup. And I think that's still like why it appeals so much to me. So
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of like the way these albums call to you is like what's going on in your life, and do you need a grasp on something like that? So that's just something that hasn't come up yet. We'll see.
Well, see, that's my problem. I don't even break up, bro. I find myself in love triangles. I'm that type
Yes,
of guy.
there you go.
That's on me. Yeah. That's probably why Will Short. That's probably why Will Short. I like Will
That
Short. Yeah,
track was for you. I
yeah. That's
love
one for me.
Sweet. Obviously,
Unfortunately,
I think Sweet was Tyler's favorite song on here that he did. A
that's
really
what he
good,
said, right? Yeah.
yeah, a really good a bridge to the second half of the track. 10 minutes here, and it really doesn't feel like it. You talk about the runtime of the album. The runtime of this song just flies by. It's great. You have different voices coming in and out. Brent Fires, I thought, was awesome on here, transitioning to the second half of that track. You get a little keyboard segment, and then you go into really, like, how would you classify I Thought You Wanted to Dance? Like, that's something like I've never heard Tyler even approach in terms of sound there. Some like island sounds, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, that's like his world. That's like him making world music.
Yeah.
I want to see Tyler like. I want to see Tyler's at that point now for me. Like, I want him to do whatever he wants. If he wants to make like world music, I want to hear that. You know what I mean? I think he proved himself so much the past 2 years in terms of like, yo, a lot of niggas can't really fuck with him, and that's really a fact. And so it's he could do it all. So that song doesn't even surprise me. Yeah, I mean, he's got it, man. He is who he is.
Yeah, I'm blown away by the level of creativity here because you talked about what were the expectations coming in this album? Like, what could you do after Flower Boy was so well received and Igor wins the Grammy? A lot of it was pushing his boundaries even further, just in
And I
terms
think
of
too, the best. I think one of the hardest things to do is to show creativity, but still have a base of something, right?
yes,
To still have a core element of something. And here he's showing immense creativity within a core element of one broad thing. But that core element is at front and center on every single song. And that's very hard to do. Because we've heard rappers, right? Like someone just put on Life in the chat. Ed Rose, my man Ed Rose, said Life in the Day of Benjamin Andre, right? So like we've heard the Love Below, right? But the thing about the Love Below is that the core element of what made Outkast blah 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 or great or whatever have you is not in the Love Below. Whereas the core element that made Bastard, Open Our Eyes, and Odd Future's music in general is here. And I think there's a difference between making an album that's not within the genre, but it's quote unquote creativity, and making an album that is rooted within the core elements of a genre, but it still like has such a wide musical scope. And I think Call Me If You Get Lost is that. And so
yeah, and to not feel like it's bouncing around too much, you're all over the
yeah,
place.
it's really great.
Seamless, and that just honestly, I thought he performed well on here in terms of the singing, the rapping, the writing, all that stuff. But what stands out most is the production. To loop all this stuff together that you have here, condense the tracks down, make the features fit the way they did. It was just like I thought Igor was amazingly creative in terms of production. But this, in terms of like what you got to do to make an album come together, like executive producing per se, uh,
Mhm.
was his best job yet by far.
Yeah, definitely was. It definitely was. He's a great A&R person of his own albums, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I think he's a great A&R of his own music. That's the biggest thing. He has always historically put people in really good positions. Wayne, he always does a really good job with. So
We saved the best for last. Hot Wind Blows. His best song ever, maybe.
I don't know about Ever. Rusty's pretty great. Inglorious from Bastards is pretty great. I don't know about Ever, but it's a very good track.
So production choice here, the jazz sample that you have, very MF Doom-esque, rapping on the keyboard segments
I
there.
felt that way as well. Yeah, I felt that way as well.
Yeah, obviously his
Yeah.
idol. Lil Wayne hopping on the feature track, best feature on the album, best verse I've heard from Wayne in a little while, and he's had some really good ones the last few years.
He's had some really good ones this year in general. I mean, he's really good on Seeing Green. Wayne can still get there, man. Wayne can still get there. Wayne is a top 10 rapper of all time. Wayne can still get there. Um, and I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm always happy to see Wayne do well, man. Always. So yeah, it was good to hear him on that record. He really killed it.
Good
As usual,
chemistry.
great rapid fire wordplay as usual.
Yeah, the last 4 bars here. So just rapid fire, turning up the speed, bouncing off the beat too. This is a hard beat to rap to, and he just makes it seem seamless. Him and Tyler really, I thought, just trying to one up each other a little bit here in terms of their verses. Like both of them were sensational. Tyler's trying to still establish that storyline, the scene in Switzerland, all that stuff. I love how he just keeps plugging that name in there. We boated here. It's Tunchi and Tyler, but call me Baudelaire. I love that. Like he just keeps reminding you gotta stick to this character that we're going with here, Tyler Baudelaire. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot more visuals too. Lil Wayne plays along with it great here. I just love this song. This is one that's gonna be on replay for a long time. But yeah, that's basically the album that we have here. It's a quick listen. I've listened about 15 times. It's easy to just run it back. As I've said, it's not my favorite Tyler album. That's always going to be IGOR. I think I got IGOR right there, the record. Yeah. That one was awesome. Just never heard anything like it. I think it opened a whole new space, world, genre almost that I've never just heard anything like. And that to me, creatively and just conceptually, I thought was really one of the coolest albums I've heard an artist put together. This one's great though. It's right up there with Flower Boy. It's right up there with that one. And he had one of those rare 3-album runs. You think of Kendrick's 3-album run and some of the other greats that we've heard. He's really put himself in a special place as an artist now, and I'm thrilled to hear what he's going to continue to do. Because
Flower Boy IGOR, I didn't think about that. Flower Boy IGOR and Call Me If You Get Lost is a pretty good three-album run. I mean, it's not the best of all time. It might not even be like a top 10 or top 20, but it's like for this decade, yeah, it's up there with Kendrick's. It's certain, maybe even better than Kendrick's. It's really good. It's a really good 3-album. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I would say Call Me If You Get Lost and Wolf are my 2 favorites, but out of that 3. Call Me If You Get Lost, IGOR, and then Flower Boy. Yeah.
So I'll have something coming on this tomorrow. I'm definitely gonna write about this album. You got anything coming on it?
I'll plug it. I'll retweet it, man. Yeah. That's awesome.
For sure. Yeah, there's a lot here. I mean, we could have gone for an hour and a half, I think, on this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an expansive record. I mean, we didn't even get to the idea of him kind of reckoning with this type of stuff, the type of language, the type of words that made him popular, right?
The content, yeah,
the type of content that made him popular. You know what I mean? It's really interesting.
Grappling with his space in the protest movement on Manifesto, and just how like he doesn't really feel, like he's required to say something or do something, and like I thought that was interesting, his commentary there, because and
the juxtaposition of Tyler being just kind of shocked by the artist, and now after the popular success, him becoming one of those artists where like, hey, Tyler, speak on something. You know what I mean? Like that juxtaposition is different, and like psychologically, it doesn't really make any sense. Like and so he's like kind of wrestling with that.
Yeah, his mom's on here talking. Like you have some victory lap tracks on here, like almost like you would think like a retirement album with some of the tracks on here that are just like, I made it, I did it, blah, 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 blah. Those ones were solid, not my favorite tracks on here, but really there's so many layers here. And I think that's another reason I've listened to it over and over again. Like, what am I missing here? Like, right. Throwing some good headphones in here, like him talking in the background on Sweet, like saying to bring the bridge in. This album's got a lot to it. And, I think pretty much everybody who listened to it enjoyed it. Rare agreement, I think, across the board in terms of loving this album, because, I had people who didn't like IGOR at all. It was just too different for them in terms of what they expect in the past from Tyler. So there you have it. Probably the best album I've heard all year. Anything else sticking new out this year so far? Records that you're loving?
Records that I'm loving. I really like the Herbo album. Really enjoyed Pray for Haiti, Matt Kami and West Side Gun. What else?
I like the
Tyler.
Rosenberg album that came out, the
I
compilation.
did like the Rosenberg album. It's actually good. Yeah, I did like the Rosenberg album. Yeah, good call.
You had a song called Marcus Smart. Never thought I'd hear that.
Arm and Hammer dropped a really good album. Yeah.
Saba continuing to do great stuff.
There's been some stuff. Yeah, there's been some good stuff. We're only getting started though. Isaiah Rashad's coming up soon. Vince Staples coming up on Friday. So
the off season, did a review of that on here a couple weeks ago with
that was okay. Yeah.
With my guy Jordan Rose over there at Complex. That was a good episode. If you haven't heard that, go back and check that one out. Good stuff from Cole. I thought he kind of just tuned into like what he does best and didn't try to do too much, and it worked into being a solid album. So that was another one I enjoyed this year. And, you know, we got concerts coming back. I'm going to my first concert in probably 2 years in a couple weeks in New York City.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Rock Marciano and Stove God Cooks. That's going to be a good one. First time I'm
seeing
to
that? Yeah, I might see you there.
That's down in Sony on 42nd.
Yeah. Rock Marcy's one of the greatest of all time. So. And
Stove God Cooks, I'm loving it. If you haven't heard of him, you got to check that guy out of Syracuse. Kind of a protege of Rock's, so it's fitting they're going to do a show together here. Yeah. His debut album was sensational, very underrated. The Underground writers have done a great job covering that one, though. So, Jayson Buford, one of the best music writers out there on the TL right now. Go get his Patreon. I'm going to plug it again on Twitter right when we get off of here. Subscribe to Dome Theory as well.
I had a Pitchfork review come out today. So
Pitchfork?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. We'll link to that as well. What'd you review?
Juicy J's album.
There we go. All right, we'll be sending that out there to everybody. Get that Patreon, get Dome Theory wherever you listen to your podcast, and we'll see you again next week. Check out our conversation with Mirren Fader as well, talking about her Giannis book coming out. That's going to be an exciting read in August. We got the NBA Finals going on right now, and he is back. Played solid last night, but the Bucks lost, and I really don't think the Bucks are going to get that title, which I wish. Like, that would be so great for his resume to win a title here, but yeah. Phoenix is gunning on all cylinders and just destroyed them last night. So it looks like they're going to roll. But anyway, that's our episode. Dome Theory. We'll see you next time.